Sarah Weiler from Contemporary Education. Today I'd like to talk about student agency moving from theory to practice. Let's say it's an elementary school classroom and they're studying as in science about plants. And the teacher has a didactic sequence that includes doing some research about plants in books, going out into the field and doing some observations of plants, maybe doing some experiments with plants, and maybe collecting some specimens of plants on the school grounds. So rather, with these 4 tasks, rather than all of them doing it together in the same order with the same amount of time, etc., it could be a list of 4 tasks where they can choose what they're going to do, and they have different spaces set up inside and outside the classroom, since they're going to be observing plants out in nature on the school grounds and collecting specimens. And then the teacher can be there giving support in different moments. There can be different resources available, such as books, such as physical collection resources and examining resources like a magnifying glass and some specimen collection materials, maybe some tweezers and some different pots that they can collect, but that they can choose the order of the task, how much time they spend on the task within the larger amount of time that's been specified, if they might work with someone else on the task or not. And that can also be something that is negotiated among students and teachers. And I'd like to just point out on choosing, like if they work with someone or if they work in groups, it's very important that teachers are attentive to group work such that students are not excluded from group work, that students are not overburdened with responsibilities while others are not taking adequate responsibility for the tasks at hand, and that they're not just dividing up tasks and then sharing, but they're really going through tasks together, investigating together, deliberating upon their findings together, that they work in a way that's collaborative and analyzing and examining the topic of inquiry and research. Now, this kind of science didactic sequence around plants that I just described could also be put into another format, like a project-based format, which also leads to the opportunity of not only relying on teacher-made tasks, but also student-created tasks that can be shared amongst the group. So if they're engaged in a project where they're creating a local field guide of plants in their school grounds or in their neighborhoods, this could be something that the teacher will give some tasks as part of that project, but students might also produce or come up with ideas of other tasks, and that they can have this mixture of teacher-created tasks and activities and student-created tasks and activities that culminate in this project of creating this local plant field guide. Play could also be an important component in designing a project such as this. So it could be a play-based project design that I've talked about in other videos, where students actually, they're not acting as students. They're taking on roles as naturalists, as botanists, as scientists, as researchers, real life roles that you would find different types of scientists involved in creating a field guide. People that are studying plants and plants within a larger ecosystem on different levels, that would be the ones producing a kind of field guide as experts, and that students can try out those roles in creating this imaginary situation that emulates a real life situation. They can work with all these choices that we've discussed so far. On the micro level of developing students' agency, once again, as making choices and taking responsibility or co-responsibility for those choices, thinking again that we're talking about children, that we cannot hold them fully responsible in the sense of adults for their actions. So that's why the shared responsibility or co-responsibility in choosing the order of the tasks that they will be engaged in, the time that they will determine for themselves for each task, the spaces that they can use to use multiple spaces with multiple uses, the resources that they'll use, having many different options and possibilities, the relationships and interactions of who they might work with, of who might be available to give them support or for them to give support to. And this idea that they also can be the co-authors and authors of tasks and activities to share with the group in a larger project, that it's not only teacher determined or teacher produced tasks and actions. Well, I hope this video helps educators in the classroom think about developing students' agency both at the macro and the micro levels, and that you can make some changes and adjustments to your classroom planning that puts students in a decision-making position with accountability and co-responsibility. Please check out my other videos on developing students' agency, and I thank you for watching.